dedication, and brilliant leadership that guided his New York team in a season that will never be forgotten.
Bring him in.
Wow, I love the guy. How about a nice ovation for Jeff Van Gundy today?
Good to see you, babe. Good to see you.
Coach away, Tom. Good to see you.
This is like an exile. This is the only time I get to talk to Van Gundy is because on a special occasion. I never get to talk to him anymore.
I get him on all the time. He joins us all the
I
time.
miss him. He's been unbelievable. You know, it seems, I watched those tapes. How much do we miss a May Day on a Sunday where you go in there and there's a 3 o'clock Great Knick playoff game against the Heat, against the Pacers, against the Bulls, you grabbing somebody's leg. I mean, that was unbelievable. How tense was how great was the Garden in those years?
You know, as I was coming here today, I was reflecting like you guys were on 94, and my greatest memory is we were playing Game 5. We were at shoot-around at the Garden, and the Rangers had won. The parade was that day, and Mike Keenan came barreling down the hallway on a motorcycle going about 35 miles an hour. It was the craziest thing. And Riley's talking to the team as Keenan's vroom, vroom, vroom on the motorcycle. It was an amazing thing.
Well, you had Riley, and I think I think Riley for Mike and me was very significant, and you were part of that because the boys came on.
Game 7, he'd give us a half hour, you know, and he'd give us everything. He would sit there and he'd go through every play and the psychology, and that's why he was so upset when he faxed in his resignation. He thought Doug and I should have supported him. He didn't forgive us he's never forgiven us, to be honest with you. I sat in the pool in L.A. I was in L.A. with my wife, and my wife said, Pat Riley's down at the pool. I went down to the pool and sat with him for an hour, and he talked to me about how upset he was. This is 4 years later, that we weren't loyal to him. And I said, Pat, you faxed in your thing from Greece. I mean, you know, blah, blah. But he was great to us in those years. And, you know, you're part of that Riley camp. And it's a great camp. I mean, Riley was an unbelievable figure in this town. He really was.
He really was. You know, I know it didn't end well, but people, when he came, thought of him as Hollywood.
Oh.
He was opposite of Hollywood. He was Schenectady, street fighter.
He just looked good in a suit.
Yeah, a lot better than me.
A lot better than anybody.
And I'll tell you, when he left, Mike and I, on the air, told Checkers a million times, what are you doing? You got Van Gundy sitting there. I don't want Don Nelson coaching the Knicks.
Oh.
Let Jeff coach the team. I mean, he's perfect. And he didn't want to do it because he wanted to get the big coach in. He thought he had to get the big coach in. And then I had you on there a few weeks ago. You were telling me about this. Nelson gets fired, and I did not realize, you know, he lost his first game, Jeff, as coach, to the Sixers. Give that little story there. It was a good one.
Well, it just shows you how standards also have changed. Don Nelson, with Charles Oakley hurt, was 34-25, and he got fired. And I still remember where Starks out there. I don't know if he's still here, but he had Coach Nelson had taken me into John Stark's room on the road, and Hubert Davis at that time was an assistant at Carolina now, was starting, and he was going to move Hubert into the starting lineup and John off the bench. And Starks, who was a team first guy, said, "Why?" And Don Nelson looked him in the eye and says, "Because he's better." Starks ripped the lamp out of his room and threw it at Don Nelson, and he ducked. So it was, you know, it was a different time back then.
That's good stuff.
Yeah.
You know, the mentality, that the toughness in the league in those days. You look at this league now, and I'm not trying to knock anything, but I mean, they're playing Pop-A-Shot, okay, compared to the game you guys used to play. You guys used to have a guy go down the lane, and X-Man would put the guy in the 4th row. You couldn't get down the lane, no blood, no foul. I mean, you commit 5 fouls on every play. Now they don't touch anybody. You get down the lane now, you wave the ball, nobody touches you. It's a completely different game.
It's a different sport right now, but I still, when you talk about that, I reflect on our first practice with Coach Riley. We went down to Charleston for training camp. Coach Riley brought the Madison Square Garden court down there to lay over their court because their court was too hard and it bothered Ewing's knees. I would have carried that thing from New York to save Ewing's knees. But so our first practice, the first thing we did was we broke up smalls at one end, bigs at the other. and it was a blockout drill. It was all about like toughness. And our guards are, sort of touching each other, but down at the other end, I'm with the guards, with Dick Carter, and I'm hearing like heavy metal contact at the other end. And you're hearing, grunts and groans, and all of a sudden, first practice, Xavier McDaniel and Anthony Mason are throwing haymakers, and they're going around the gym, and no one is stepping in. And it goes on for like, a good 2 or 3 minutes, and it set the tone. And by the next year, the marketing campaign that got rejected was a lane on the front cover with an outline of a dead body. And it was Knicks, but it was appropriate. It was.
Your first game, you got beat by Philadelphia. I don't remember that. And then you beat the Bulls. Go ahead.
I do. So Coach Nelson gets fired that morning. Ernie comes to my room and says, "You're the coach." And I said, of who? And, we just let Coach Nelson go. So I go up and see Coach Nelson. He says, "It's great, go ahead." And my first move is I decided to go with all the old guys. And I start Herb Williams at power forward. Tom Thibodeau, who is, now a great, coach, was on the other bench as an assistant. They were, when I say god-awful, I mean god-awful, that Sixer team, just like now. And they beat us by 8. So we're coming back, we're taking a bus, and Mike Saunders, the legendary trainer of the Knicks, yeah, give him a hand. He gives me a Philly cheesesteak, and I was getting sick to my stomach because I'm thinking, I think the Sixers won maybe 17 that year, and we're going against what turns out to be the 72-win Bull team. And I'm thinking, oh my God, what is going on? But we practiced the next day, and we shot around on that Sunday. You remember the 5:30 games, right?
Yeah, great.
So we shot at the Garden at 9, and I didn't know if we would win, but I knew we were bringing it because we had unbelievable competitors. When you're blessed to coach Derek Harper, Starks, Mason, Oakley, Ewing, I mean, you got it pretty good as a first-year coach, and I think we beat him 27 that night, and Charlie Ward was knocking it in, and we were rolling.
You think about your career and how a shot changes lives. Obviously, the Allen Houston shot changes yours. We know, and changes your career into a tremendous coaching career. But it's funny, that whole, from Riley's days through your days, through what Ewing did and the second run at the Spurs, where obviously you're overmatched in the finals, but there was so much drama, intensity, passion for those Knicks teams in this town. I mean, I said, somebody asked me the day in one of the interviews I did for this, and they asked me the biggest change, and I said the biggest change is I don't talk Knicks anymore. We used to talk Knicks days on end. We don't talk basketball. We haven't in years. And those days, it was big. Sunday, I didn't get to Mother's Day one year for about 6 years in a row because there was a Knick game on Sunday afternoon. Yeah. I remember my mother used to always say, "Oh, there's no Knick game on Mother's Day." So every year she'd be complaining about that. But there was a Knick game on Mother's Day. Every year you were playing the home game on. You miss those games now. There hasn't been that kind of drama in this town. You grabbing a 6'10" guy's leg. I mean, all the good stuff.
Yeah, about that. So people always say, like, what were you thinking? And I really do understand when criminals plead not guilty by temporary insanity, because I don't remember one thing about going out there. And but I owe Allen a lot. My career never gets started if he doesn't make that shot. And he unbelievable offensive talent. People always say, "What do the Knicks need?" I said, they need guys like him.
Yeah, can shoot. Absolutely.
And if Larry Johnson's still here, people forget. We always remember the 4-point play.
Yep.
But he was, and I think the players that are here tonight, the absolute most selfless teammate that has ever put on a Knick uniform.
Yep.
No one has sacrificed more for the better of the team than that guy, fighting injury and
whatever he has to do.
Unbelievable, yeah.
Absolutely.
Did you think the NBA was ridiculously harsh with the suspensions when everybody left the bench in that Miami game?
Do I think so?
Well, they had a rule.
Oh, stop. They enforce the rules they want to enforce at the time they want to enforce them. They don't go by the rules.
That was the dumbest decision in history.
Listen,
Of course, the Knicks are serious.
Oh, absolutely.
morning the next year, because there's lockout, you're never served a suspension. The one time they brought him back right away because it was good for the, quote, good for the game. Ewing took one step on the floor to get a better look. Now, we were wrong to have left the bench. Like Tom Thibodeau used to always say, may have been beaten but never out-competed, and we weren't backing down from any fight. But we were wrong there, but Ewing should have definitely not been suspended, and we win the home game.
Game
with
6.
Ewing.
Yeah,
There's no
game
question.
6.
Yeah, of course, we'd love to talk to you about coaching, and we hope that I still hope one day you come back and coach because you're such a good. You're good on TV. You and Breen are great on TV.
Oh, you're great on
You
TV.
really found the Knicks doing this TV stuff. You have this wicked sense of humor. Everyone always thought here's this droll little coach who's not a real guy, who's a guy who was a real, funny guy, and then you turn into this comedian doing the games.
I don't really know anything about broadcasting, but like when you're with Breen, he's like playing with a great point guard.
Yeah,
Right?
he's good.
Yeah, so, but he looks at me sometimes like, what are you talking
You say
about?
some strange stuff. You really do.
Yeah, I know. I don't even believe half the stuff I say after a
All
while.
right, give me some stuff now. Golden State, San Antonio. Who wins?
Golden State,
7 games? 7 games?
5.
5 games?
Well, how can you disagree with that?
They haven't. The Spurs haven't lost a game at home yet.
Correct.
Spurs did a good job 10 days ago, the game that you did defensively. They
Great.
got Curry out of the game.
Because I picked Golden State doesn't mean I'm down on San Antonio. I just think when a team's about to win whatever they're going to win, 72, 3, 4, whatever it's going to be, you have to give, ultimate respect, even though San Antonio, you think about the league this year. You have an incredible thing going on. You're going to have most likely, the most wins ever.
Ever.
Okay? 2 teams might go undefeated at home,
Right.
which has never happened.
Right.
And then you have a Philadelphia team who still may tie for the worst record of all time.
You have great disparity in the league.
It's unbelievable what's going on. So, listen, I don't think anything that's wrong with San Antonio. What they've accomplished with their limitations is incredible. But I just think Golden State.
Are they unbeatable in your mind this year?
No, because we've seen how injury. It doesn't have to be a major
Forget injury. Just if they come with all their players, are they unbeatable in your
No,
mind?
no. San Antonio could win. I think Oklahoma City, if they got the right defensive mindset, could win. And Cleveland.
Could anybody beat Cleveland in the East? Is there a team that could beat Cleveland in the East?
Yes. I think now it's out there, but I like.
This is in
I can't believe I say Charlotte. I love Charlotte's team. I love Charlotte's team.
Really?
They're a top 10 defensive team. They're a top 10 offensive team, and no one knows about it.
He's done a good job, Clifford.
Oh, he's unbelievable.
He's done.
Very good coach.
And I'll tell you right.
But you don't really think anyone's going to beat Cleveland,
No.
right?
No, I'm not betting that.
Right.
And Cleveland will lose the Golden State. Will they win 2 games?
Hey, you got LeBron. Now, I think it's people like, because whatever social media, like drama, whatever it is, you can't underestimate like his greatness. When he goes on the floor, he's the best player on the floor most every night he plays with focus and tenacity.
Yeah, and
It's not even close.
to me, last year, the fact that he won 2 games against Golden State with that motley crew, that was a motley
The guy averaged 36 points, but 14 rebounds and 9 assists in the series.
And I would say this, the year he got to the finals against San Antonio in 2007,
Right.
with 4 guys you couldn't even
Hey, he doesn't play on that team that went to the finals last year, and they play this year. They win 15 games, that team.
So we proved that
Yeah.
before, right?
How much blame, though, do we give LeBron for Blatt getting him out of there?
Again, unless you're there, you don't know, but I do know this. As an organization, when you fire a coach at 30-11, coming off a finals run, you are really gambling with undermining not only obviously that coach, but the next coach, because something happened other than them just saying, hey, we may need to go in a different, no one says we need to go in a different direction, because what direction is there to go except down?
What do you think about Porzingis?
I love Porzingis. Love him.
So do
I love everything about, from the time he was drafted, where he didn't get the most welcoming reception, to the start of the year. But what I've liked even more is how he's had this downturn in performance. And not once has he lashed out and blamed other players, coaches, management, nothing. He hasn't, no innuendo about it's anybody but his responsibility to play well. This guy is an absolute stud.
You know what I think? You know what also is very interesting? And we'll let you go in here in a minute. I think the fact that the Bulls can't even make the playoffs tells you how good a coach Thibodeau is. You think Tom Thibodeau would be a game over 500?
Also, sometimes when you go from a tough coach to a soft coach,
Yeah, it's a good
the team
point.
does not respond well to that. And,
How is the
and Hoiberg
Bulls-
came from college, and he's a players coach and an offensive coach, and you can see the thing's a mess. And I like Hoiberg. He was a good job at college. He did a really good job.
Great job.
Yeah, but he's run into a tough situation there.
Well, first of all, like Thibodeau, all the stuff that their management leaked out to their hand-packed media. I wish I could say what it really is, but this is TV, so I'm going to say it was wrong. It was nasty. It was rotten, underhanded. But Tom Thibodeau's record speaks for itself.
Yep.
I mean, this guy is a great, great basketball coach. And so
So are you. How about you coaching again?
yeah, listen.
You've been a great coach. You are a great coach. You know that? Would you coach again?
Well, I always say, when you're out of coaching, you miss the 3 C's, all right? And you miss competition, camaraderie, and the third one's not as obvious, charters. You miss the charters, man, because
You don't have a charter when you go there?
No.
You don't have your own plane?
You got these, oh my goodness.
You sure you don't have your own plane?
United, come on. But I'm going to say this: you can never get that out of your system, and so I miss coaching. I miss coaching every day. I miss thank you.
No, listen, I know there's the whole Riley camp and tree and the whole Jackson camp and tree, but I think we should have a little meeting in the mindset and you coach the Knicks again.
Well, that's a good one.
Not Porzingis, you can build a team. I think it's time.
Yeah. Well, you know what? One thing you do learn is when you go someplace else. I was absolutely honored every time I walked down that hallway from Red Holtzman office, Pat Riley, all the QB Brown, all the great coaches, to walk out that tunnel. There was no thrill like that.
And this town loved you. You know why? You were a battler. You were a tough coach.
He was,
they loved you here.
He wasn't a typical coach. He was a guy that they related to blue collar.
Well, and it also helps to have Ewing, behind you.
Yeah, now they learned how good Ewing was. You know that?
Yeah, exactly.
That's it. You know that?
They did this chant once before at Madison Square Garden.
I remember this. Remember the whole building for you? I mean, how good was it? Remember the whole Jeff Van Gundy thing? That was unbelievable.
Well, Alan will remember this. It was after we had just swept Atlanta in the second round after Allen's shot beat Miami. And we came in and they had chanted Jeff Van Gundy, and I was like, what is going on here? And so we sweep them, and we're coming into the locker room afterwards, and Alan, I still remember, was saying, he was trying to get the rhythm of that Jeff Van Gundy, and I said, well, usually it finishes with sucks, but tonight, because of you guys, it ended good. So,
Jeff, great job.
Thank you, Jeff. Jeff Van Gundy, everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff. Thanks for coming. Thank you very much. Good to see you. See you soon. Thank you. Let's go finish on top, Doug.